Hello, Syngap Land. My name is Michael Graglia. This is episode 86 of Syngap 10, your 10-minute weekly briefing on everything you need to know about Syngap 1. I took my sweater off, so I have a new t-shirt on to confuse you and make you think that I didn't just record episode 85. But truth is, I did. And in episode 85, I talked about AAS. So in this episode, episode 86, I'm going to talk about the Syngap 1 conference. And I have 2 points in doing this. One, I want to tell you guys what happened for those of you who weren't there, because a lot happened and you need to know. And 2, I want you to mark your calendars for Orlando, Florida this year. I talked a little bit about this in episode 85. Come to the next meeting. It's going to be epic. What we have shown the world is that we can run an amazing science meeting. There's a lot of energy around next year already. Parents are setting it up. The agenda's being set. It's incredible. So, things to look forward to. Let's talk about what happened. I kicked it off and then I introduced Dr. Ed Kay. Ed Kay is the CEO of Stoke Therapeutics, who's working on a therapeutic for SCN1A, the Tango, and is now working also on Syngap 1. And he talked about their platform. It was amazing to have Ed in the room with 40 families. Dr. Tim Yu came in from Boston and talked about N-of-1 therapies. I don't want to go down this rabbit hole. I will probably do a whole other episode on this rabbit hole. N-of-1s are interesting. They have been in the press a lot lately, but they're not the right answer for us. So if you see these articles on N-of-1, say, Mike, aren't we doing this? Because there's thousands of us. And one drug can help all of us, which is a good thing. If we can just make that good copy work harder. So, but it was really helpful to hear from Dr. Yu, and he honored us with his presence. And then Dr. Jeff Collar from Hopkins talked about his mRNA amplifier technology and how he's working with us on Syngap 1. And that alone was like, 3 giants, Dr. Ed Kay, Dr. Tim Yu, and Dr. Jeff Collar, all talking about Syngap 1 and the different approaches. That was phenomenal. And Dr. Ingrid Sheffer moderated that, and she was just so excited. She's like, this is so much fun, and she just ran us right over time. Classic Dr. Sheffer. The next session was run by Dr. Ingo Helbig, and I regret that we didn't give him enough time to speak, and I wish we had, because one of the things he wanted to share was a poster that Gillian McKee was going to share at AES with some really interesting data on drugs. So the bad news is he didn't get to put that on the screen because we were short on time. Thank you, Dr. Sheffer. The good news is I have a link to that poster, and I will share it in the show notes, and it's incredible. And that poster was all based on Citizen. So I'm going to interrupt myself as I do to make a Citizen ad. There is a poster right now telling you more about Syngap on one page than you will find anywhere else, and it's entirely based on the Citizen data. Maybe you should sign up for Citizen. Okay, so Ingo ran this incredible session. Dr. Wiltrout talked about more about the Citizen data, which she's analyzing. Unfortunately, she wasn't in the room, but there'll be a publication forthcoming. Dr. Danielle Andrade talked about her work in adults, which again was encouraged and supported by SRF. Go team. Dr. Connie Smith-Hicks talked about Syngap and sleep and how sleep is likely a potential biomarker for Syngap, which is important because we need biomarkers for trials, which is a great segue to Dr. Bruce Reeve. Dr. Bryce Reeve is the guy who created the ORCA at Duke and is working with Dr. Christy Ziegler, who couldn't join us because she had another conference. And I've already told Christy, next year you need to come to our conference. But with support from the FDA, they're taking the ORCA, which they made for Angelman, and they're expanding it to Syngap 1. So it was all about trials, right? How are we going to measure adults, Dr. Andrade? What can we learn from Citizen, Ingo, and Kim? What about sleep, Connie? And what about another validated scale, the ORCA? So that was just the morning, right? And we had a lovely lunch, and then Dr. Huganier ran getting geekier as the day goes on, a session with Gavin Rumbaugh, who's just a classic mouse guy, double-clicking on Syngap all the time. Really cool stuff on potassium and the membrane, which honestly was a bit over my head. Sally Till came in from Edinburgh, Peter Kine's lab, and talked about rats and how rats are better than mice as a model for Syngap, and there's always some lively discussion around that topic, believe it or not. And then Liz Heller talked about her work supported by SRF. Congratulations, Dr. Heller, on your recent subsequent award supported by the MDBR work of Syngap for more work on Syngap in your lab. And she talked about the epigenetics. So that was really high science around Syngap. Beautiful stuff. Dr. Huganier moderated that, and the scientists and the industry partners in the room were really paying attention, let me tell you. Then we finished really strong with Dr. Perdori, who's on our SAB and just a force, takes care of a lot of our kids over at Boston Children's. And she hosted Dr. Jackie French and Dr. Vicky Whittemore. Jackie French is a giant. And we was a real honor to have her, and she's over at the Epilepsy Foundation, does an NYU, she does a lot of work. And then Dr. Whittemore talked about how much funding the NIH is pouring into Syngap these days, and she credited us for investing in the early work that created that data, right? So this is why SRF grants matter, right? We fund scientists who just need to make the data that they need to go to the NIH and get bigger grants to do more work, right? So this early risky money that we spend is so important. And I just want to say to all the families out there, thank you for joining us and fundraising with us and making this work possible. Without you, it would not be possible. That was just Thursday. That night, we co-hosted a party with Combined Brain, our friends of Combined Brain, STXBP1 and SLC6A1 Connect, Amber and Charlene. Do I have that right? Or was it somebody else? No. Yes. I actually have to check. I'm not even sure if I have the right groups. I think I do have the right groups. I'll correct myself if I don't. Anyway, so we had an amazing party that night. And then Friday we launched into the family meeting. And the family meeting was tremendous. So we kicked off the day with a guest speaker talking about taking care of our hearts. That was lovely. And then we went on to registries. So we had Invitae, Simons, and RareX on the same stage. Invitae, Simons, and RareX talking about these registries matter. This data matters. We need to work together to make these things happen. And so the punchline there is that all of them were saying these are good people, you should work with them. So I tell everybody, sign up for Citizen, sign up for Simon Searchlight, sign up for RareX. And I'm telling you the same thing. You should do all those things. And that was just an awesome session. And the point I want to make on registries is these are the three best players in town. We only work with the best. Our kids deserve nothing less. You've heard me say this before. So Citizen, Simons, and RareX, best in class, best data security, best professionals, best. That's who we work with, and those are the registries that you as parents should belong to. We then were honored by Dr. Kathie Bishop from Acadia. Kathie is an industry veteran. She's done a lot of stuff, and she's over at Acadia, who's partnering with Stoke on the Tango ASO for Syngap 1, and she talked to our community about being clinical trial ready. And I have to ask Kathie if she wouldn't just do that whole talk again as a webinar so we get it. And I want to make a comment about the videos. So believe it or not, we did record everything on the Thursday, not on the Friday, because it was more of a family day. So we need to ask you, Kathie, to do that. But we then sent the videos to our incredible volunteer in Canada who does our video editing. And for some reason, these highly suspicious videos spent like 2 weeks in customs. So, and don't ask, I don't know. So hopefully soon, as long as they are now frozen solid in some blizzard somewhere between here and the Great White North, eventually those will get to Roy and he will be able to make these videos. So we do have recordings for Thursday. They will come out. PRAXIS then gave a talk about their work with SCN2A and how they're planning on doing a rinse repeat for Syngap. The punchline here was the SCN2A trial is happening faster than anyone expected because they use Citizen data. Once again, sign up for Citizen. Make our data powerful. Help industry make drugs for our kids. Sign up for Citizen. It's free. In fact, when industry licenses that money, when industry licenses that data to Citizen, for every $10 they give Citizen, they give $1 to you, the patients. A bunch of families just got gift cards for a few $100s to thank them for their participation in Citizen. And their anonymized data, their de-identified data, was given to licensed over to industry to work on these trials. Share your data, people. Sign up for Citizen. It's incredible. Then it just got better and better. So Jackie Kancir got up and talked about her work with her daughter. I'm going to go over 10 minutes, but this is too important. And Jackie Kancir is an advocate. Her daughter, Jaden, is an adult. Not quite sure the age anymore. There's too many kids. I can't keep track of them all. And Jackie talked about how her kid was taken to the hospital. And because of behaviors, because, hey, guess what? Syngapians have behaviors. They broke out their psychiatric patient protocols. And she's like, no, she doesn't have a psychiatric disorder. She has a developmental disorder. And they said, we don't have a protocol for developmental disorder. And we all know how that story goes, right? But now they do. Jackie worked with all the players in Tennessee, ARC and the Department of Disabilities and a bunch of other people, and got a protocol made for the ER for kids with DEs with behaviors. Incredible. That's leadership isn't the right word. That's like pioneering advocacy and entrepreneurship. So SRF, we have a press team, and I told the press team, I said, we got to tell this story. There have been a couple articles, and just yesterday there was a TV piece in Nashville about Jackie's work. So thank you, Jackie. Thank you for sharing that at our conference, and we should all be proud of her. And honestly, if you're not in Tennessee, you should probably be like, hey, how do I get that protocol here? Because, last year it was Jaden. Next year it could be our kid. That was amazing. Then JR came and gave what might have been my favorite talk of the day. Honestly. So JR is a mom. As you know, she's a genetics PhD. She's talked to a lot of us about our mutations and helped us understand them. And she recently wrote a book called More of Everything. I'll put the link in the show notes. This book, More of Everything, is available on Amazon in soft copy. We did have some special hard copies made for the meeting, and we gave them to people. So if you have one of those things, they are basically collector's items right now. Keep them safe. And but if you go to Amazon, and of course I'll share the link in the show notes, you will find More of Everything. And the best part, and the trouble is, JR, there's a lot of books called More of Everything. So you kind of need to look for More of Everything, Janie Reade, or you just need to follow the link in the show notes. This book right now on Amazon has 37 ratings, all 5 stars. This book has 37 ratings, all 5 stars. It was published like 2.5 weeks ago. She launched it at our conference, and then she went live on Amazon. Read this book. If you're a Syngap parent, read this book. And JR's presentation of it was tremendous. So next year's conference, I think we're going to ask both Jackie and JR to talk again and probably give JR more airtime, or maybe we'll have a panel of amazing adult parents, because this was just everybody's heart was just bursting during JR's talk. It was amazing. We went on to hear from Vicky and our colleagues in Argentina about what's going on in Latin America. As you might expect, they are setting the bar, they are building community, they are supporting and loving each other, and we're going to see tremendous things in Latin America. Why is this exciting? Well, number one, it's the right thing to do. Number two, guess what? Clinical trials aren't just going to happen in the US. I am going to be talking about this more in a future episode about ASOs. Clinical trials are going to happen everywhere, and clinical trials go to where the patient community is already organized. So really important what Vicky is doing, both on the human level of supporting and connecting families, but on the strategic level of being ready for clinical trials. Amazing work, Vicky. Then Peter and Pavel, and unfortunately Rebecca had to go home because of kids and care. But Peter and Pavel gave a great talk about SRF, what we've accomplished this year, all of the dollars and cents. Great work. Punchline there. We've done tremendous work. We've invested a lot in science, and every family should be raising money. Every family should be raising money. If you can raise $100,000, raise $100,000. If you can raise $1,000, raise $1,000. Because guess what? SRF takes all that money. I pay the overhead, so there's we take all that money, we stick it in a bank account, and we find great science, and then we fund great science. Okay? There's no overhead. I'm not asking you to pay me. I don't need to get paid. I'm not asking you to pay for the accountants or the lawyers or the website or the whatever. I personally pay for all that. 100% of the money we raise goes to great science. Please raise money for SRF. Help us help kids with Syngap. And then at the end of the day, I did a talk and I just said, hey, this is what's going on. And people asked questions and it was great. It was like we were just sitting together as a community, talking and reflecting on what's gone on and thinking about the future. And the future is this. There's a ton of work to do. As I just said, we need to raise some money. But here's what I want. For the people who can raise real serious money, please raise serious money. We need it. For the people who are like, oh, I don't know, it's so hard to raise money, but I've got time, volunteer. We need help. We need real commitment. We need people to help with newsletters. We need people to help with communications. We need people to help with patient support. We need people to help with counting patients. People to help with recruiting for studies. We need if you have any QuickBooks or accounting experience, we need you. If you have legal experience, we need you. There is so much going on. There is so much going on that we need to build this army, and we need to get out and we need to advocate. We need to go to conferences. We need to have materials. We need to be out talking about Syngap 1, because right now, folks, things can happen. But it takes a huge amount of time and effort, and we need your time and we need your fundraising. So join us. That was sort of the punchline. And then we finished the day with a dinner. We invited all the families to a really nice dinner, and it was just the perfect ending. And honestly, I could have flown home then. But then I went to AAS, see episode 85, which I just did. Sorry this went over. Thank you to everyone who made the conference happen, and look forward to next year. If you're not planning on being in Florida, who doesn't want to go to Florida in December? On December 1st and 2nd, for the SRF family meeting and science meeting, come. And then if you can, if you're science minded and you want to stick around for AAS, do that. AAS is an amazing conference. Go listen to episode 85. Thank you so much.